Hey everybody, I'm back. This is Austin. I'm going to talk about the art of war. Um, Episode 1, the first one, was about what the book is about, strategy. I went into depth on that. Yesterday, episode 2, I talked about what the book is. It's a tool for understanding the roots of conflict and resolution. And also I mentioned the aim, invincibility, unassailable strength, and victory without battle. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about some of the core elements that the book is used to deal with. Okay, and I haven't really gotten into details on anything. I haven't went into the chapters yet, which is still just an introduction to how to understand the book before you even start, and how to understand how to use the book before you even start learning the book. Because as we go along, this will make you look at it in the right way. Okay, so today's episode 3 is going to deal with what is disharmony. Because that's always what your strategy is going to be trying to deal with. So you got to be able to recognize disharmony in whatever it is that you're doing, and that's how you're going to develop your strategy by way of tactics. Okay, so there are different levels of disharmony. Now remember, all this war, hardship, overcoming stuff is about awareness. All right, different levels of awareness, imperceptible barriers of awareness, crossing barriers of awareness. For example, back in the 70s, there was no such thing as carjacking. And then one day, somebody just said, well, why can't we just, well, this guy at the parking, about to get in his or her car, or at the light, and I just bust the window with a gun, and they just thought about it, and they crossed the barrier. Nobody thought of it, and the next thing you know, everybody's copying it, and now it's a common thing. But to get back into what this is about today, different levels of disharmony. Okay, first you have balance. Balance is when there's no emotions, total calm. We're not happy, not angry, not sad, not discontent, just no emotions. That's complete balance. Very few of us rarely even ever get there, but you can try to imagine it. Perhaps maybe some people will meditate. Then after that you have what's we'll call harmony. And so harmony is when you have some emotions, whether they're good or bad. But for the most part, the idea is that they should be good, right? And so we'll deal with discontent too. So when you have some emotions, but they're moderate. And the next is contention. That's when some disharmony really starts to arise. Most people don't see it yet, but some do. Contention is where usually the problem is not obvious yet. All right. Then you have conflict. That's when the problem's obvious, and where there are people involved, you usually have a decent deal of emotions, maybe too many, starting to, in between, you have some obvious emotions, or you really got some emotions going. Somewhere in between that area, that's conflict, okay? Up until the point where, yelling, fighting, now, okay, that's violence, okay? And so fighting should only be used to stop violence, all right, and for no other reason. And we're not just talking about physical fighting, but any kind of fighting, verbal, mental, psychological. So anyway, once again, today is a build from episode 1, episode 2, which yesterday was about tool. The first one was about strategy. So now we're talking about disharmony. Now the root of any aggression meaning when someone hurts somebody else in any type of way, that's aggression. And there are only two causes. There are only two causes of aggression, and that's what you have to find, whatever the problem is. So, and the two causes are greed and possessiveness. Okay, we know what greed is. The reason the greed is bad, and you could say, for lack of a better phrase, like Michael Douglas did in Wall Street, and we know that's not what he meant with the dictionary version of the word. Basically means that you're hurting other people to get what you want, and that's why greed, by definition, is bad. So greed is when someone will hurt someone else to get what they want, or Possessiveness is when you usually have something already and you hurt someone to keep it or to not let it get away. Like, okay, my wife's going to leave me, so I'm going to shoot her and kill her. And so now you can't leave me. Okay, I'm that possessive, right? And we know that happens. And the greed and possessiveness are like sisters. You know, they're married in a way, but they don't have to be together, you know. You see American greed, you see all the time, people getting scammed out of their money. That's really not possessiveness. That's money that they didn't own that, but they want it, and they trick them out of it, you know, so that's obviously greed. And those are the only two causes of aggression, right? And the different levels of disharmony, like we talked about, are balance, which is, you know, no emotion, balance. You got harmony, some emotions. Then you have contention, where there's some type of problem, it's not obvious. Then you have conflict, you have an obvious problem. And then you have violence, you know. So violence is, you know, everything, or fighting / violence, you know. Fighting doesn't have to be physical yet, but if people are yelling across the room and, you know, they're not too far from it, you know, that's beyond conflict. I mean, they've totally lost all rationality. The more emotions, the less rationality. It's a reciprocal relationship. So that's probably enough for today. Sit on that. Hopefully soon we can start to actually get into the chapters. I'm going to jump around to get a strong understanding of how to use the proverbs. And each time we go over a proverb, you'll understand it, be able to relate it to those things. But these first 3 episodes, you really need to master those, understand them well. I think I laid it out pretty simple, but you need to know that. It's not, you don't need to go back to pages or, you know, notes or, you know, even the book. I recommend buying the book. If you do, you get Thomas Cleary's translation, nobody else. Now, he ain't paying me, I don't know him, you know, but this is for you. And my glove has a hole in it. This is for you. And so if you want to buy the book, and I'll tell you where the proverbs are most of the time, at least the chapter, where they come from. The reason I like Thomas Cleary is because there's less, you know, shogun jargon, you know, not to discredit the Chinese. I love the culture and the discipline and so forth, thousands of years. But for the sake of the book, that's just not necessary. I mean, I think all that should be in another book. You know, the book is about the art of war. I like Thomas Cleary because he really cuts to the chase, you know, and his interpretations are better than anybody else's that I've read them, almost all of them. I'm not going to say the names, that might be bad. But I had to go through a lot of translators before I finally got to him. So master these 3. The others, you know, you let them come to you, hear them over and over, and, you know, they'll come to you. Might not, I won't say master those, but you need to master these first few episodes so you can really soak up the proverbs in the right way. So your understanding of them will, you know, will be solid, and your ability to apply them will be in the way that it should be, right? So that's it. This is episode 3. Try to memorize that, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. And we hope to better ourselves, and this will hopefully better your life and whatever you need it for. I find it relevant in all things. But you might want to start in one area. Okay, see you tomorrow.